Guys, I forgot that my mic was not on for like 5 minutes during this first part of the interview, so deeply sorry for that. It's gonna transition into a weird, like mid-conversation kind of vibe, but this is Hazem. He is a friend of mine. He goes to our locals. He got top 8 at the Kissimmee Regionals with Law, and he's playing a very cool version of Law. So I'll just cut to the video, and thank you Daily Grind TCG for sponsoring this video. If you guys need singles, check out my description below. Use Heart Pirates 5.
Better than Red Hawk. I wanted to play Red Hawk, but it's just with everybody's like playing everybody's in the red deck playing their one of like blocker Marco, and that card can just like, you know, they draw it, okay, they have like the infinite blocker guy. So this kind of gives me an out to be obvious, and it's searchable. Gives me an out to being able to like rest the Marco and just kind of push for damage whenever I need to. Same thing with the jet pistol. It's like another out to be able to like kind of get through the Marco blocker.
And so what I noticed is, there's like a echo coming from yours. Okay, it's good now. It's good now. But so what I've noticed is, you know, when I played 8-drop Kid in Law, right? I kept trying to kind of like base my game around like dropping him at the best times. Do you do that, or do you just kind of figure out like, okay, this is just not the game for a kid, and I'm not going to even play him? How do you kind of decide that?
There's definitely scenarios where it's not the game for 8-drop Kid. I prefer not to cast him at all against like Whitebeard, for instance. If I have other targets to take off of Bonnie, I'll try to just like do those. Sometimes I don't have the luxury. I did have to cast him against my first round opponent, but that's just because the way my hand was set up was gonna force the board for 8-drop Kid to be good. My hand was had a Basil Hawkins in it, and so I just went ahead on like turn on my he put me on the play. I went on 5 Dawn, put my Basil Hawkins into play, and he had a 4-drop in play, and obviously chose not to attack with it, so Hawkins doesn't eat it, so it gave me some life buffer to work with. So then I just went and like, you know, shitter shambles, put a blocker into play, and then I said go, and then he played Thatch and said go, not giving me the free value to attack with Hawkins. I didn't attack with my Hawkins, obviously. And then so I got to untap, and if you're not attacking me, okay, here's an 8-drop Kid untapped. Go ahead, do your best, you know.
Yeah. And the second they see that, they're like, oh shit, like
I got attacked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then they had to attack, and then I was able to just like eat at their board with the Hawkins. The 8-drop Kids started putting beatdowns, and then they went 9-beard, and the game was pretty straightforward from there. I had a blocker, I had a chopper, I had a what's it called? I had a Law blocker. I had a Hawkins to chip at their guys, and like an 8-drop Kid, just like a lot of pressure, a lot of damage. So those two cards together work very well, because like it'll keep your life total like pretty healthy, because they won't want to attack you, and then you get to just like play the 8-drop Kid untapped. You got plenty of health to work with. There was the other game that I played in the mirror, and I had no business winning that game, to be honest.
Which one was this? What round was this?
This was round 3.
Oh, the one I saw. Yeah, the one I saw.
Yeah, I was just so far behind. Opponent just had it all. You know, he just had like Nico on curve, and then he had Otama, pop my guy and Nico, and then Shambles, Law restood his guys, and then like Nico ate again the next turn, and man was just like having a feast, you know what I'm saying, on my board. So
I actually played him like round 6 or something, and I beat him too, actually.
Yeah.
He didn't have the Nico for me though.
Yeah, but I mean, he was playing the shitter, or the smaller version of Law, so like that's probably a decent matchup for you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, but I also I knew, so you saw the part, I knew he had an Otama in his hand.
I saw it. That was nice.
Yeah, he had shambles it, and I went down to 0 life. I need to play this kid. All I had in play was was maybe like a couple shitters, a blocker, and the 5-drop blocker law. And I decided to like make these awkward attacks at him to like hope he discards the Otama. And I just like went like 1 Dawn on my leader, attack you for 6. He obviously doesn't know that I play 8-drop kid, and he took the first hit, and then the second hit. So I went like 6 with my blocker law at your life, and then he discarded the Otama, and that was just like, okay, like it's
you're
game
like, oh,
time.
let's go to work. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I slammed the 8-drop kid, and he just like, I was able to just kind of like time walk him for like 2 turns, where just like, negate all his attacks, and I just like pushed for damage really hard as much as I can, and we were able to squeeze it out. So
Yeah. What would you say was your hardest matchup over the course of the tournament?
So I mean, he like that guy drew like kind of the nuts on me. So like that was probably like one of the harder scenarios. But I mean, I ran into Zoro like 3 times in a row, and Luffy. Obviously, I'm pretty afraid of Luffy sometimes, because it's just like it naturally can just like has a good matchup into me. But I think my draw was pretty well, and the way that I like kind of have this deck is like set up, as you can kind of see, like I'm playing the 4-drop vanilla Zoro.
Was that good? Was that good all day?
It was amazing. Yeah, I mean, just like I just every time I see him, I just like, especially against red decks, if it's if I'm on the draw, and a lot of red decks take the play against me, I'll just 4 mana, play 4 mana 6k, and say go, and then they can't fire fist efficiently, especially that early. They'd have to like Gordon, Fire Fist, and discard a card. That's 3 cards in their hand, and they don't necessarily have board presence at that point. So what this also allows me is to like, I try to set up like multiple 6Ks in play. So another way that I'll do this is, if I'm also on the draw, and I have like a couple of shitters, is I'll go like shitter on my turn 2. They play on their turn 3, whatever, a Marco. As long as they like flood the board as much as possible, and I have like 4 cards on board, I can go 4 mana 6k vanilla Zoro, and then shambles and put a law into play, and now I have 2 6ks on board, which makes it impossible to Fire Fist. So it that helps a lot in terms of getting away from that card. And then Nico Robin's okay. I like if I draw Vista, I prefer drawing the Vista more. However, Vista's not searchable, so having Nico is as a straw hat is pretty good to be able to eat buggies. Some people have like the multiple buggy draw, like their searchers draw. They go like buggy into the Dain, into buggy, whatever, and the buggies are like hard to answer.
Yeah.
So
everything is slash everything.
Yeah.
Except for
exactly.
Nami's like wisdom, pretty much. It's like the only thing I can kill it.
Yeah. Well, so Nico Robin can kill them. So like Nico Robin. Yeah. So Nico Robin, I can just like, I'll go Dawn on Nico and attack your top one and eat your other one, and I like can KO 2 buggies with her. So that's the biggest advantage is that she's searchable. Worst case scenario, she's a 1k. I'm okay with it.
Now, was Robin good for the tournament? Because I felt like Robin was very slow when I was playing Law. She just didn't feel that great.
I wouldn't say she's great by any means, but she's okay. I used her more as a 1k most of the time. However, at this tournament, it necessarily wasn't like anything great, but at the same time, I've played a ton of games where Robin was like insane for me. So that's why she has like a spot here. Like I said, I would much rather draw a Vista, but
especially only playing one, you're like never gonna draw it. But when you do, it's good.
Oh, you'd be surprised. I see him. So
is that right? Let's go ahead and check that deck to see if you stacked the deck or not. Because I felt like I never saw Vista. Like, I actually ended up cutting Vista because it was just like I never saw it, and it was like only there in times I never needed him.
It's okay. Like, I mean, it's okay if you drop the Vista. Like, I'm not against it. I'm also not against people that, like, you know, play like 4 Vistas because they'd much rather see that than Nico Robin because she's like too slow. Either way, it just like depends on your preference. I think, like, for me, I was just kind of I was digging being able to like search her and just use her as a counter, because like, so like the way also like that this deck is set up, like you can see, like I'm trying to like maximize on Straw Hats. So like when you get towards like the end of the game and you have like, you know, you have like the Dayan and Nico and
Nami.
and Nami in play, and you're just trying to find defensive counters, I don't want to whiff on my searcher in the late game. So that's why I'm playing multiple guard points. I'm playing Radical Beam. I'm playing Brook. I have more Straw Hats because of Zoro and Nico Robin. So it kind of guarantees me getting that late game counter. Because also, like, you know, if I'm on the 8-drop Kid plan and he's in my hand, I don't play the game with the fact that, you know, I have 8-drop Kid in my deck. If I need to play it and that's my only out, then I'll play for that plan. But for the most part, I play the deck just as is, you know. And if I have the 8-drop Kid in my hand, then I'm okay. I can go on this plan. I can try to either starve them, or just like keep attacking their board, get cards out of their stuff, or establish some blockers and then put the 8-drop Kid in play and try to control the board from there.
Do you remember your matchups?
Yeah, so round 1 was the Whitebeard. That one we got the W on that one. Round 2 was Kaido. So I was happy.
That's a free win right there. That's a buy.
Yeah, I was happy seeing that. So thanks for the game, but sorry, my dude.
Sign the slip, buddy. Sign the slip. Yeah, dude, Kaido like cannot beat Law, bro. It is way too fast.
Can never. Can never. And round 3 was the mirror, and then I went Law. I went Zoro into Kid, which was Los Fiends.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and then into Zoro, and then into the last match was Katakuri, which was another matchup that I was pretty happy playing against.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, pretty favorable, even though he did get he got pretty close. I'm not gonna lie, because he triggered his last card off of his life as the sovereignty, and was able to put another. Well, he triggered, what's it called, the blocker first, Brûlé, which ate another one of my attacks, and then he triggered my the last attack as sovereignty, got another life, and then.
Was that life also a trigger that he got? Was it like a cracker or something?
Well, no, but it was the turn that he was gonna untap to 10 mana, 10 Dawn, and play Big Mom. So then he got to untap, play Big Mom, trash my life, and now he's back up to 2 life again. Yeah. So that one was it got kind of close, because then I had to push for damage. Luckily, I mean, I saved my blockers and stuff. To like, just in case of like Big Moms, him chaining Big Moms, and I pushed through damage again. He did hit a Shirahoshi off of one of them, cleaned up his hand with more 2Ks, and then followed up with another Big Mom. But I think I had it closed down. I just had to play a little bit tight just to make sure I don't get cheesed.
Yeah, and that's what Yellow does. They just cheese. So
exactly.
So my last round, when I was X3, so I finished 6-3. I think I told you this. But my last round, I was playing against a Yamato, and like Yamato like can sometimes just steamroll Zoro, right? And this guy was like, "You're the 4th Zoro I've played all day, and I've beaten every single Zoro." And I was like, "Oh my god!" And it's like one of the only games I've ever won a dice roll. And I was like, I can't let them go first. And it was down to the wire, bro, because this guy would just trigger like he would trigger like Shirahoshi, and then like obviously when they get to 6 life they become Whitebeard, and then when they have like Sovereignty or the Arrow, like that deck can actually be really scary sometimes, like just
No,
yellow in general.
the deck is definitely has potential, for sure. Especially I think like Yamato's is pretty good into the aggro decks, just because at some point you become a 6K leader, so like you don't run big moms also, so you have more counters in your deck. So then 6K leader plus more like whatever counters, uh, gives you more defense. So because a lot of times like the Katakuri just dies like, my opponent's like, oh, I had like two big moms and a Katakuri in my hand and blah blah. I'm like, yeah, I mean that's what happens. But that's another thing actually, that when I was I played Zoro for a solid like month, just testing, just to kind of understand the deck and just see how I can beat it. And a lot of times I noticed that their hands are actually just like flushed with like these fire
So
fists,
dead, yes.
Diable, Jambe, fire whatever, and
Absolutely.
fiery doll. And like if you just would have gone face, you would have won. But you're like, how am I gonna go face with my opponent with 6 cards in hand? You know what I'm saying? So like that's, yeah. So that's definitely something that actually like a lot of games that I won against the Zoro is like me smelling blood. I'm like, I
Yeah.
know that, like, you know, I keep checking them with 5Ks to the face to see what they're gonna counter, what they won't counter, and just not invest any Dawn. And then when I see them, like, okay, I'm like, okay, this guy's low on counters, even though he has like 5 cards in hand. I just go like, I attacked for 5 and he took it. Okay, what about the 7 now? You're
Yeah.
gonna take the 7? Okay, 9.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, and then like
So I'm
all
very
in.
happy you said that. I'm very happy you said that because I've been playing Zoro recently too, just to kind of like,
Yeah.
obviously it's a really good deck, and
Mhm.
I in a lot of the mirror matches I think I only lost one mirror match the entire weekend, right? I think I played like 5 or 6, and I kept swinging like 9 at their face with Marco, right? Put 2 on them, swing 9, swing 9, swing 9, and like they were like, I don't think you should have gone for game. Like one of the guys that I beat was like, that was incorrect going for game right there. Like I had 5 cards in my hand and 1 life. Like you should, and 2 Dawn up. Like, but I was like, bro, like as a Zoro player, I know almost every card is like so dead in your hand, right? Like one of my losses was to Whitebeard. I keep telling my friends this, but I had 11 cards in hand and only 2K worth of counter. So
That's insane.
yeah, the deck can have so many like just dead cards in hand because of like you have to play the event version for Marco.
Yeah.
That you can find lethal out of nowhere, like especially with Law, you could just keep restanding them and just swinging 7s or 9s. You
Yeah.
can kill them when they don't expect it.
Yep, exactly. Obviously, like good Zoro players will force you to like attack into the board, just to like use their like stuff as like counters. But like that's why you kind of gotta like read your opponent. That's why I kind of prefer playing. I prefer playing like, you know, in person, just to be able to like, you know, read my opponent a little bit better. But you can also, but the same thing happens on sim. You know, if I attack you for 5 and you're taking a 5 hit from here, okay, what if I what like why didn't you count, like would you have countered it if are you gonna counter this next one as 7?
Well,
If you
that's
didn't
just a
counter
waste. Yeah.
it, yeah, you're gonna lose 2 cards on this one. So then, even if you hit a 2K off of life, okay, this 7 should still connect. You know, I attack you for 7. You're taking it? Okay, then what about this 9? You're gonna counter this 9? You know,
And it keeps getting way worse too. And what's
exactly.
funny is like Law is a 4 life leader, but everyone always takes like their first life for free pretty much. So like it's pretty much all they get is 1 extra card, you know, essentially going into Law. And you as a Law player get like 50 extra cards per game. So I feel like I still think Law, like when you draw well, is a really good deck. Like I think it's the best deck actually. But when like you understand as a Law player, like sometimes your hands are just so bricky. Like, you know, you search for Bonnie and then you bottom deck like 2 cards that you don't want to bottom deck, and then it's just so hard from that point on. Do you agree with that statement?
So I definitely like the Dan for me this tournament. He hit probably once out of 5, which was insane. I was getting triggered, but at the same time, I get the, as long as I can, like, there's also, so there's depends some matchups. I'll sandbag some of the searchers in my hand, and I'll throw out like whatever, some blockers or whatever I can. Or if I have multiple searchers, I'll play out one. That way, if I get fire fisted, he doesn't hit like my Dedain and Nami, and now I don't have a searcher to just like keep putting back into play to keep netting value. So depending on what the matchup is, I might hold like a Nami in my hand or something. Um, and just so I can keep like, replaying her. If I don't have the luxury, obviously, depending on my what my hand is, I'll just throw her out. Um,
What do you
but
think
yeah.
about? What do you think? So like, I played someone else in one of the box tournaments who ended up getting second with Law. He was playing like the starter deck Namis and like the heavy like aggro version. What do you think about that? Have you tried that one out?
Yeah, I tried that one out actually before this one, and then I played one game with Kid, and I was like, I'm more of a controller player than like an
Same.
aggressive like player. But Star Deck Nami's good into Whitebeard. I don't necessarily think you need it because I think you're already favorable against Whitebeard. If you see a single Otama, the world is literally your oyster against them.
Yeah,
Uh,
because
but
all their characters are just like fours or fives or something like that.
yeah, exactly. You just like shrink all their characters, and you can like now you're attacking not into a 6K leader, you're attacking into like a 4K or whatever 5K, and it's just like it becomes kind of a lot easier. Uh, how I do like, I mean, I that's the only kind of thing I like, it being into Whitebeard. Yeah, you can like use her ability to like put one on Brook, and then like, okay, now Brook's only attacking for one extra Dawn. Sure. However, a lot of times, like, I can usually attack with Brook like a lot of times because you just have a lot of Dawn, and you can just like, yeah, I might not attack with him this turn, but I'm gonna attack with him next turn, and then I'll shambles him, put him back into my hand, and then I'll put him back into play, and then he'll attack the next turn, and then he'll get shambles. Like, uh, however, what I don't like about it is that they're cutting 2Ks for to play the starter Nami. I think that's like the one thing that I don't like about those lists.
Yeah. So what I found about, while we're on the subject of like Whitebeard being favored, when I was at
Yeah.
when I was at Gen Con, I wasn't playing like the 8-drop kid version or anything like that, but it felt like Whitebeard got very, very fast, and like it was kind of hard for me to deal with like their aggression. Like if they would go like Atmos into Luffy into Ace, it felt like that game was like so hard right there. Like how do you deal with like boards like that? Because I was struggling. I think I went like 50-50 with with the Whitebeards I played at Gen Con with Law, but I mean I probably just wasn't playing the most optimized version. How do you deal with that?
So I mean, this is like another reason. Like same thing with like the Atmoses is like guard points are like really good for these reasons. Like they might attack you for like a 6K, and then the next one that's coming in is like a 7K. You got to make sure that you're countering the 6Ks when you can. Not early on, just obviously after you've taken like a life or two. Uh, that way you're just countering optimal. You don't want to take a 6K and then he goes hits you for 7, and then because I see a lot of people do that, and then he goes hits you for 7, and you're like, oh shit, I gotta counter this one, 2K, 1K.
Yeah.
And you're just like, now if I have a guard point and I just like want to utilize it, okay, I can take this 6K. If he decides to like attack me for 6, again, I can 2K. If he decides to attack for 7 and he like, he thinks he's gonna connect it, these guard points come in handy in these situations against Whitebeard. So the events are very good into Whitebeard, are very good because their mana is usually tied up into because they're playing like big guys. So their 4-drop is gonna either attack you for 6 or it's gonna attack you for 7. If it's gonna attack you for 6, that's a 2K. If it's gonna attack you for 7, easy guard point.
So what did you end up cutting for the? Because I'm looking at your deck list now. What do you end up cutting for some of these events? Because I see you're only playing 3 beige, the Zoro count. Like you're playing 5 events, which is a lot for Law, right? What did you cut from this list?
So I mean, so we're down one restain Law. So like we're running 3 instead of 4. It's just with obviously with the format being more fire fisting, it may not you may not be able to like restand as much for like uh as much damage as you would want to. So we went down on that and went a little bit defensive on that. My old list used to play 3 to 4 vistas. This one only plays like 2 Nikos and 1 Vista, so you have some room there. Uh, I like playing 2 Zoros. I don't like playing any more than 2 Zoros. You play 4 Zoros. People who play 4 Zoros, I'm like, how do you not die?
Yeah.
Because like
Well, that's
it
what the
always
guy. That's what the other guy had was 4 Zoros, and then he had like 2 Luffys, and then with the starter deck Namis. So he was playing like
yeah.
heavy aggro.
Yeah, unless obviously if you're heavy aggro, sure. But like I said, this is a little more controlling. I like playing 2 so I can have like counters, to protect myself, protect the kid, protect my key things. If you go 4 mana 6K Zoro, on the draw, and then you like pass and they go on Marco, uh, if you do decide to attack, you want to be able to protect that Zoro. So like. I don't want to have I don't want to have like like the vanilla Zoro. I don't if it's the 3-drop Zoro, I'm probably not attacking. Or if I do attack for some reason, I'm never countering to save that.
Yeah,
Um,
or he just shambles it back if something like that.
yeah. I cut one of the Brooks. I'm at 3. I like it. I like it at 3. We went down for a guard point. We're gaining 1 extra point of defense, which is pretty relevant into the Marco. So I thought that was worth it. It worked out pretty well. I like playing 3 Bages. I don't like playing 4. Every time I'm tapping my Nami, I want the big hitters. I don't want to be getting these guys. I can draw these guys or like get them off life, but sometimes I do get it when I need to off Bonnie if I don't have any other options. But the shitter version plays 4, and I get that. That's absolutely fine. Because you just want to shambles as fast as possible. So you just want to go like shitter. Put a lot into play.
How would you go about beating Law? What beats Law, in your opinion?
What beats Law? The mirror.
Only one can win.
No, I mean Zoro can definitely beat Law. I don't want to say how to beat Law.
Gotcha.
Zoro,
Makes
as
sense.
Zoro.
Makes sense.
I can tell you off camera, but
Yeah. All right. I got you. Because you're going to Nats, right? You got your invite.
yeah. But next format seems kind of crazy. I don't know what I'm doing for that yet.
I'm glad you said that because I was just about to ask you what do you think about Law going into set 4? Because I think Law gets worse.
Yeah, it definitely probably does. I mean, I just started. I told myself I wasn't gonna touch OPO4 till this tournament, the tournament that just passed. So now I just started looking at OPO4 decks, and I'm starting off with Rebecca, and that deck.
I think that deck shits on Law and Zoro.
Yeah, very possibly. I haven't ran into it yet, but just by seeing the way that the deck plays, Kyros is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
They're playing,
and Luffy can just attack your Law like straight up, and like
resource tiles.
Yeah, they can pop it too. Like they get cards in their hand. I think that deck I think it is going to be the gatekeeper against like all these like aggro decks coming into play. They're like, oh, if I run into a Rebecca, it's just like a hard loss. It's like an easy loss right there.
No, for sure. Because also like their strategy, like Rebecca as a leader doesn't attack.
Yeah.
So they starve you naturally. Like you don't have the option not to. And like Law wants to draw those first couple of cards off their life, so they can like figure out the game plan and like shamble stuff. You don't get that. You're not gonna get that ever against Rebecca. So that already kind of is a little bit scary. But we'll see. I mean, you can always. That's the thing about Law is that you don't have a lot of room. Your core is pretty solid, but you have some room to like to kind of manipulate your deck to like beat the meta, which is what I tried to like do for this tournament, is just like kind of manipulate my deck to go a little bit bigger, to like not lose as hard to like cards like Fire Fist, and we'll see if there's a strategy for that against them.
And that was very smart, by the way, because I knew, like, playing Law, like,
Mhm.
I was gonna definitely get hurt by Fire Fist, and surprisingly enough, even like I was winning a lot of my Zoro matchups when I was at Gen Con, just because I don't know if they just knew how to. I don't think they knew how to beat Law, basically. So like I was just gaining value when I shouldn't have. But like the
Mhm.
people that did know how to play against Law with Zoro, it felt really bad. But
Mhm.
I definitely, I think that, yeah, like from my takeaway from this weekend was that if you play the film Zoros and then like more of like an event package for Law, I think it's so much better into like the meta than normal Law is. But my biggest takeaway, I don't know if you agree with this, is I think Whitebeard is actually the best deck in the format right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean Whitebeard's crazy. Whitebeard's the most consistent. So like that's the thing. You can hand over Whitebeard to somebody, like take this deck, play in a tournament, and he'll do well. Just
Yeah.
because there's not obviously the good players will utilize it the best, but the power level of the deck is just is always gonna be big. Yeah, I have 4 mana. Okay, here's a 4 mana 6K. Go ahead. Oh, you can't answer it very well. This is a 6K, this is a 6K. You have to tax yourself on Dawn into attacking me either way. So your deck is just like losing momentum. I'm gaining momentum. Okay, I'm gonna attack you. Your deck, I attack you for a 7. Your deck, I don't know if it plays how many 2Ks, whatever. Do you have the luxury to like counter out of these? It's just their deck is just naturally just powerful,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said the same thing.
Yeah.
I was telling my friend that like I was playing a Whitebeard in, I'm not gonna say who, because I don't even know their name, but I was playing a Whitebeard in like one of the tournaments. I played in like 10 of them, so I'm not I'm not gonna give it away. But they were not very good, right?
Yeah.
But they were playing Whitebeard, and like the game literally came down to like 2 cards. Like I ended up beating them, but I like that person should not have even been close to winning. But like
Yep.
the fact that they were playing Whitebeard, it's like they actually almost got there. And I would have been
Yeah.
so upset if I would have lost to that person, bro. Super
Yeah.
upset.
That's I mean Zoro's power level is crazy high, but it does take a lot more work,
Yeah.
you know.
I think its floor is way lower though than Whitebeard's.
Yeah, and for you to practice the deck a bit, but versus Whitebeard, like, it doesn't require too much, and your ceiling's already pretty high.
Are you going to Knoxville?
Not Knoxville, but I did sign up for the Tennessee one.
Okay.
Not Tennessee, sorry.
I was gonna
Houston.
say that's I was gonna say that once. I wasn't able to get into the Houston one, but so those are gonna be OPO4. What do you think you're gonna be playing? You're a control player. I'm a control player. So
Yeah.
I like decks like Crocodile. I like Queen, even though Queen's
heard-
gonna be
I
kind of
heard,
Luxacky.
I heard Blue Croc is like very, very good. I played one game into it. Uh, I won, but the game was like, I was like, if this guy was better, he probably could have won. To be
Yeah.
honest, just because the 10-drop Kaido is just so much tempo. Like my opponent went, uh, he went Mihawk. Well, not before Mihawk. He went like 3 sword style into something, into Mihawk, into 10-drop Kaido, and I didn't have a board, and he just had like a bunch of 10Ks on board. I'm
Yeah.
just like,
It
what's
feels
going on?
no, literally, like, so what I've been thinking is like it feels like you auto lose that game like the second that they get to a board state where like they have like 3 or 4 life left and they're at like 7 to 9 dawn. I feel like you just can't win that game anymore because like any card that they play from that point on is going to be very high tempo and like swing the tides in their favor. Like they play Mihawk and they get rid of a big problem card that you have, and you have to do a whole lot to get rid of that one Mihawk, and then they might have another one, or a 10 drop Kaido, a Red Rock. Like there's just so many efficient ways for them to just eliminate your board. I think Crocodile is going to be one of the best decks in the format next set, and I think as a control player, I think you would really like it.
Yeah, I mean, also, they have a lot more triggers off of life too now, between 3 sword styles and Red Rock.
And Boa too, like the blocker if they play it.
Yeah. So like that's a lot of like, like before it was like red had the jet pistols, we had the fire fists, we have all the good triggers off of the life, besides like yellow. But now you also have removals out of your life. So yeah, you also as a blue player can now get lucky,
Yeah.
uh and hit some stuff.
So we'll see how that goes. Do you have any other final remarks before we end this video?
Uh Deck is great. Does a lot. Does it will require like a lot of like testing. Like yeah, I've only been to two actual events, and like luckily I did very well at both. But I've put in a ton of hours into like testing. It's just like sometimes with like my work, I can't necessarily. Plus, I used up all my vacation time, and I went to Egypt for a month, so
Oh damn.
uh, yeah. So uh, but at the same time, the deck's very good. It's gonna require like a ton of testing. If you're willing to put in the time, your ceiling's pretty high. I will say, like, I was put in so many tough positions in the tournament, and like I just felt like obviously if I was just playing Zoro, my day could have just been a lot easier. Like I'm constantly like distressed, like how do I navigate this game?
I
You
saw you
know,
in some of those games, bro. You were just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, you were
I
deep in
feel
thought.
yeah. I mean, I played Zoro for a while, just in testing, and my games were a lot easier. So like, you want to have a good time, play Zoro. You want to have a rough time, play Law.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's where I'm feeling too. But
yeah.
I'm gonna let you go, buddy. It's 11 o'clock. It's late. I appreciate you
Sounds
coming
great.
on. Shout out
Yes,
to the
sir.
dude. Shout out to the Jackson, dude. The Jacksonville like local scene is actually really good, bro.
We're out here, bro. We're out
Bro,
here.
no
In
lies. Like
Jacksonville. Yeah,
Hazem's gotten top 16 multiple times. We have
yeah,
Matt who's gotten top 16 and top 64 a few different times. We have, dude, all of our people are actually pretty raw in Jacksonville. So we
yeah,
represent here. I appreciate you, buddy.
yeah.